Hello and welcome back to the Arsenal Ramble. I hope you guys are all having a nice weekend. We're here today to talk a little bit about the Juventus friendly game and a bit of World Cup chat also. Today we're joined by myself and Dom. How's it going, mate? You all right?
Yeah, I'm really good, thank you. Just about calmed down after the World Cup final madness, but
What a good game that
yeah,
was.
not too bad. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all good, thanks. I'm all good. Been working away a little bit this week. Not as cushy as yourself. You've been away on holiday, haven't you? How was that?
Yeah, a little bit of winter sun for me. Not quite as warm as it was in the summer when I went to Spain, but it was about 18, 19 degrees whilst looking over at the UK on the weather app,
Nice.
seeing it was like -4 and
Yeah.
-7 in some places. So yeah, it was all right to be sat on the beach, albeit in a body warmer, sipping a few cocktails.
Some
Yeah, can't
cocktails,
complain,
nice
you
and
know.
smug. Yeah, nah, very nice, very nice, very jealous. But yeah, I thought what we would
But
do
back
first
now,
is
and
is chat a little bit about the World Cup game, as you've mentioned, that's just finished, the World Cup final, that is. Um,
yeah,
Argentina won it eventually. Um, what a game that was, though. What a game! It had everything, literally. Penalties, controversial decisions, hat tricks. What, you enjoy the game?
yeah, I think you pretty much summed it up. It was a game that had pretty much everything, and after about 80 minutes or so, when Argentina was still 2-0 up, you thought France have been really underwhelming, and it
Yeah.
just seems like a walk in the park, really, like a bit of a boring final, if anything. And then
Mm.
Mbappe, he steps up. Well, to be honest, Mbappe for 80 minutes was awful. He really didn't create anything at all.
Yeah.
But he
No.
had his converted his penalty, which came pretty much out of nowhere, and then straight afterwards scores again, an unbelievable finish. I think even you said
Yeah.
you messaged me saying that you got goosebumps when that went in, and I think
Yeah.
I did too because I was like, "Oh my god!" Like, eh,
Yeah.
like, you just cannot even explain the magnitude of that goal because in tournament football, in knockout football, that brings you to extra time. Um, yeah, so went to extra time, and you're thinking, what the hell is going to happen from here on out? You're thinking, France, they've got all the momentum now after Argentina have pretty much bottled a 2-0 lead. So everyone's
Mm.
focused on France, thinking that they're going to win it. And then another turn in the tail, and Argentina score. And you're thinking, oh,
Yeah.
well, that's it done and dusted. Game over. It's been a good game, but Messi scored. It was a pretty good goal as well, just over the line. And then you're
Yeah.
thinking, right, well, Argentina have won the World Cup. That's going to be it. And then another twist in the tail when Mbappe scores again from the spot. You're thinking, what? Anyone that watched that game, I was a mutual for the game, and I think it's the best football match that I've ever watched. I sat there and watched it with a
Mm.
girlfriend, and even she's not too bothered about football, but even she was on the edge of her seat, going, "Wow, what a match! I wish every game of
Yeah.
football was like that." But yeah, we really got
It was
treated
so
to that
entertaining.
game, a real treat. How did
Yeah,
you
what an
enjoy it?
entertaining game. Yeah, I mean, a little bit like what you said, really. When it went to 2-2, that normally puts the team that equalised as the favourite because the momentum's all with them. So I was really thinking France were going to push on and then get that third to make it 3-2 France, but obviously then it was Argentina that got the third, so or their third, I should say. So yeah, it was such a strange game, but such an amazing game. Yeah, I feel privileged to have watched it. Couldn't help but think, oh, I wish it was England. But we
And
can't have it all.
it's like that. Before the game, we were talking. We were saying, who do we actually want to win this game? And we were saying, well,
Yeah,
in an ideal world, neither of them. I'd be happy if they both lost.
yeah,
Um, but I think I did. I think Argentina did just edge it for me because obviously France knocked us out recently, and that hurt. And it's
Yeah.
quite nice to see an absolute legend of the game, Messi, to have a bit of a icing on the cake of his career at the latter stages of his career as well. So that's always nice to see. Although seeing them put a robe on covering the Argentina shirt when he's celebrating with
Mm.
the World Cup was, I think that was a bit naff.
Yeah. I'm so surprised he didn't whip that right off, and just be like, no, I'm not wearing that. I guess he's probably caught up in the moment, isn't he? Like he's probably not even thinking about
Yeah,
that.
don't want to cause a lot
Or
of offence
maybe,
either, in case it's like a cultural thing. So
yeah, but it's not their moment. It's Argentina's moment. It's nothing to do with Qatar. That lifting of the
true.
trophy. It's overindulging for me. Like, step back, let Argentina celebrate. They deserve it at the end of the day. But yeah, yeah, that really was that's a bit cringy to see.
And
But
it's quite strange as well to see that the domino effect, because we spoke about this earlier about how Neil Maupay injuring Bernd Leno a couple of seasons back then rolls into Argentina winning the World Cup from. So Bernd Leno gets injured, Martinez steps into the frame for Arsenal, and then guides Arsenal to an FA Cup win. Gets a big money move to Aston Villa and becomes their number one keeper, and then that gets him a call up to Argentina as their number one. Wins the Copa America to then solidify his place in the team, and then he goes through the whole World Cup campaign as number one. Has an amazing penalty shootout performance against the Netherlands, and then the same again against France in the final, and they win the World Cup. And the funniest part about it is Neil Maupay, who instigated the whole thing, is French himself. So it's just like a little kick in the teeth to him. Like it's gone full circle. It's
yeah, it's gone
karma.
full circle.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that has gone. Yeah, no, I mean another thing as well. France have been quite underwhelming all tournament. For me, they've got the wins obviously, but you know, and people will call me biased, but even against England, I think England were the better team on the day. Against Morocco, I think they got a little bit lucky. They probably were the better. They were the better team on the day. Um, and then again today, they rode their luck at times, but I think overall Argentina have had a much better tournament and definitely deserve it in my opinion.
Yeah, and as much as people say that Messi carried Argentina, which he did make a massive impact in a lot of games, but there were so many great players on the pitch for them. I do think that Mbappe definitely carried France to that final. It was his, he was the difference in a lot of games, and he got golden boot as well. So it just shows you how good he really is. And it's frightening to think that he could have another three, maybe four World Cups in him, and he's already won one and got to a final. So shows his quality already.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people were saying it was like the battle of who's going to take over as like the greatest player, weren't they? Like, is Mbappe going to win it for France and then take the throne, if you will? But there's just no doubt, is there? Like Messi is still one of the best players, even at 35. It's just crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I'm sure he'll think about maybe retiring from international football after that because you can't really top that, can you? And he's not gonna
Mm.
go for back-to-back World Cups when he's what 39, 40. So you'd think that that's probably the hiatus of his international career, and he's probably going to be the last time we see him in an Argentina shirt. But I wouldn't rule it out him going to the Copa America again.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe that's it for World Cups, but you know, maybe one last Copa America for him maybe would be.
Yeah.
But going out after winning the World Cup's probably as good as it gets. So that kind of does seem to suit Messi, doesn't it?
Yeah, it made me sad seeing Saliba go up to get his silver medal at the end, having not played. They might have won if he played, to be honest. But yeah, it made me sad seeing him go up and get his medal and just just looked a bit sad himself, didn't he?
Yeah,
But
that was the one little caveat of maybe why we should be supporting France over Argentina. The fact we've got Saliba, but for me, he's not really played all tournament. I think he played that one dead rubber game in their group stage, which I think they lost in the end.
Tunisia.
Um, yeah, so it didn't really impact on my who I wanted to win the game. The fact that Saliba was sat on the bench for France, but yeah, I was thinking the same in the first half. Maybe Saliba could be doing a lot better here because Upamecano was not playing very well. But then in the latter stages of the game, he was putting in block after block, so he kind of redeemed himself in the end. Even Kanate was when he came on was playing quite well. They're just sort of blessed with quite a lot of good centre backs, aren't they? Even that Jules Koundé plays at right back, similar to how Ben White does for us. They've got sort of that centre back in the right back position. So they're just absolutely blessed with centre backs there. So, but I do think now the tournament's over, they're going to be looking to the future, and players like Camavinga and Saliba will be getting more starting roles in that French team.
Yeah, who's that French? Is he a winger? Isn't he? I can't remember his name, but he's unbelievable.
Well, like Colo begins with an M.
He's ever
Yeah, he
really
plays for
good.
Frankfurt. For
Sorry.
yeah, well, no, I think he seems destined for a big move, doesn't he? He really made an impact when he came on. Was it for Giroud in the first half, around the 40-minute mark?
Yeah, I think it was. And you see Giroud getting mad and punching the ground and being angry. Yeah, yeah. When he was walking off
I
onto the
didn't see
bench,
that.
he was kicking off because he got taken off in the first half. But it's if you're not playing well, it's a
Yeah,
World Cup final. You've got to come off.
yeah, he was quite ineffective, wasn't he? But they weren't playing to his strengths at the end of the day. He's quite a unique player in that way. If you don't play to his strengths, it's almost like playing with 10 men.
Yeah, but then
But
weirdly, after he's gone off
you
the pitch,
can't.
they start floating loads of balls into the box. So
Yeah, but to be fair, you can't argue with those substitutions because it did not straight away, but it did make them play better, especially in that second half. So
yeah.
yeah, fair play.
Should we talk a little bit about Arsenal?
You read my mind. You read my mind.
I'm
Let's
so glad that the
let's
World Cup has finally finished. So now that England got knocked out and the World Cup's finished, so as soon as England went out, I was not bothered about it really, apart from the final because I always like to watch the final. But yeah, I've
yeah.
just been itching to have Arsenal back on my screens, and they were back on my screen yesterday against Juventus in
Mm.
a friendly game. We had
Yep.
Aaron Ramsdale, he started. Benjamin White, he started. What was your take on the game?
Um. Well, I mean, yeah, it was a pretty strong starting lineup, wasn't it? I mean, probably bar Saka, Martinelli. Um. Yeah, it's sort of basically our starting 11. So I was expecting a strong performance, especially when it was against a very young, inexperienced Juventus team. I think they only really had Locatelli and is it Rugani that maybe Moise Kean that
Yeah,
play regularly for the first team. So I was expecting to have a lot of the ball, which we did have. Just we didn't really create much, did we? There wasn't really many clear cut chances. And in the end, sloppy goals to concede. I think they've both gone down as own goals in the end, haven't they? Um, so I'm
yeah,
not. A lot of people sort of say that winning in these. I say pre-season. It's not pre-season. It's mid-season. But these mid-season friendlies, that winning is crucial because it keeps up our momentum. I'm not sure I buy um, into that too much. I think it's more about the sharpness and the fitness aspect more than anything. Don't get me wrong, winning is obviously good for momentum, but I think it's important that these players are up to speed and sharp when 26th of December comes round against West Ham. I think that's the main thing. So I'm happy that we've overall in the three games or public games that we've had. I think overall I'm pretty happy. I think we've been quite sharp. Um, what were your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with you there. I think, well, first half, we were completely dominant up until the last minute of the first half, which is where we conceded from our own goal. But apart from that,
Yeah.
we really did command complete control of the ball. We didn't let them out of their half, really. Every time they got the ball back, we'd win it back. And the Juventus youngsters really looked like youngsters. They looked like they were fielding their under 18s. They were losing the ball and they had no composure at all. But you could tell that we were missing that cutting edge with our wide forwards, so missing Martinelli and Saka because Nelson was playing all right, but unfortunately actually came off, didn't he, in the first half? He pulled a hamstring,
Mm.
which it's really unfortunate for him because this is going to be probably one of his only, his last opportunity before Saka and Martinelli come back into the fold to be able to stake a claim in the team. And you're thinking if Nelson's going to be able to play in the first team, it's going to be on Boxing Day because Saka or Martinelli, they might not be fit yet. They might still have a bit of hangover from the World Cup. So it really would have been his opportunity to maybe make a start in the Premier League. And just before that happens, he pulls a hamstring, which is usually, Arsene Wenger used to say, a 21-day injury, didn't he, minimum? So
Mm. Yeah.
he's not really going to be in contention for that game. And you feel like once the main guys come back into the fold, he's not really going to have a shout, is he?
No. Yeah, like you said, this was his time. I think you could tell on the look in his face when he was holding his hamstring. You could almost read his mind. He was thinking, "This was my time to shine, and it's now being taken away from me because of this hamstring injury." Um, so yeah, I'm really frustrated for him. I think is the word. I really am frustrated. Because next in the pecking order is Marquinhos, who came on for him, and he's a very young lad, very inexperienced, and you can see that in his game. He does look a little bit lost at times. I feel like a loan move is inevitable for Marquinhos. So we haven't really got anyone that can directly replace what Nelson would have given us, in my opinion. Do you think this may affect transfer plans? Maybe.
Yes. Well, I hope so because the drop off is incredible from Saka and
Mm.
Martinelli to Nelson and Marquinhos when he came on. Even without the Nelson injury, I think that we definitely needed to get in another wide forward because if there is a long term injury to either Saka or Martinelli, there really isn't anyone that can step in and play the same sort of role that they can. Um, I think there's a few players that we're obviously linked with that we've seen loads of different transfer rumours about over the last few weeks, like Mudryk and Cody Gakpo. But yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely think we're going to be in for someone in January, and we would be silly not to, especially having lost Nelson and also lost Jesus. We just need numbers up top, really, because if anything happens to any of our front three, we need someone that can go in there and be able to rotate, even if they do have to fill in at centre forward sometimes. We need numbers.
Yeah, I suppose the one caveat to the transfer question is the fact that we've got Smith Rowe coming back. I think he has been training in Dubai, although he's had to pull out of training. I think the few days prior to the Juventus game, which meant he wasn't involved in any way. Um, so it just shows that he's still having little niggles, even in this period where he's meant to be coming back to full training and getting match fitness. It's a shame because I was hoping that he could at least have some sort of involvement with these friendly games, and get himself up to speed, in a friendly manner. Because to throw yourself back into a competitive game is tough. And I think we found that with like Vieira, for example, he didn't have any pre-season whatsoever, and he found it hard to get up to speed whilst playing in the competitive Europa League games. Um, so it's a shame that we haven't had that with Smith Rowe. But he's really going to be he's going to be huge when he is back. I think that's really going to help help the team. But like you said, can't help but feel that a wide forward really it's got to be the number one um, transfer target for Arsenal. I mean, a lot of people talk about the central midfield role. I don't think that's as crucial at the minute, really. I think if we're going to push this transfer, sorry, this title charge, then we really need to be thinking about forward players. And while we're on the topic of forward players, what did you think to Eddie Nketiah's performance?
Yeah, to be honest, he looked like he was doing the Jesus role really well in the first half. He was hounding and harrying players, and he pressed really
Yeah,
well. And to be fair to him, he was pressing the keeper and the centre back into mistakes, and we had two or three half chances, quarter chances just from him actually pressing those guys. But he had one absolutely golden opportunity that came just after he put the ball in the net. Actually, he got ruled out for offside, and then they got given a free kick, which the goalkeeper took, and then he pressed them into making a mistake, and he got the ball on basically the penalty spot, and I think did he hit the post? He hit the post, and the
yeah, hit the
keeper
post.
the keeper wasn't even anywhere near him. He had basically an open goal, and he's hit the post.
Yeah,
And you're thinking, we want you to we want you to fulfill the Jesus role, but we don't want you to replicate his current goal scoring form. We want you to score as well. But
yeah,
he's if that's in the Premier League, you're absolutely pulling your hair out saying you've got to be scoring these chances, because inevitably what happened in the game is we lost the game because we didn't score, and then we scored basically two own goals. But yeah, you're going to get punished if you don't take your chances, and that's the one thing that does worry me a little bit about Eddie Nketiah is he's not as clinical as he really should be for a well,
mm,
a poacher in the box, a fox in the box, so to
yeah.
speak.
I think if I were to look at his all three performances, so I'm talking Lyon, Milan, and Juventus. I think overall he's done quite well actually. Seen a lot of back, oh, not backlash, but I've seen a lot of criticism thrown his way based off the Juventus game, saying, "Oh, how are we going to survive for 3 months with Nketiah up top and all this and that?" But honestly, I do think he's gonna. I think he'll hold the reins, fairly well. And like we said in other podcasts, Jesus isn't necessarily scoring. Well, he hasn't scored in the last 10 Premier League games, maybe even more than that. And I know he does offer a lot more than just scoring. Um, but as you alluded to earlier, Nketiah has been pressing well. He's been forcing errors, which is exactly what Jesus does. So I think I've seen enough from Eddie in these friendly games to still give me the confidence that he can hold the reins in Jesus' absence while he recovers from this knee injury. I do think he'll score goals, and who knows, it might be one of these moments where he does actually really well, and it might be roles reverse. Is Jesus going to be able to worm his way back in? I like to be an optimist in these situations, and like Eddie said in the last season, give me a bunch of games, then critique me. Um, this is what he's about to get. because he's going to be given a lot of games. So let's see how he does.
I completely agree with you there. And what I would say is if Saka and Martinelli were starting with Nketiah, I do think it would have been a different scoreline because, as you say, he's a facilitator and he definitely facilitated the other night and he created a lot of chances and he pressed really well and the inexperienced players around him didn't really capitalise on that. And yeah, he was unlucky to have not scored himself. When usually he probably would have put that away, but I wouldn't focus too much on that. As you say, he played well in the first two games, and he did create a lot of chances, which our more senior and more experienced
Mm.
players would have definitely snapped up.
Yeah, he's deceptively quick as well. Very similar to Jesus, in fact, that he often catches defenders and the keeper off guard with how quick he can actually accelerate towards them and press them and cause them to make mistakes. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. And
Mm,
but like I said, I'm optimistic. I think he can do well. So in the second half,
yeah,
we
uh,
had some sub appearances from some of our younger players, Kozia Jubri, Ethan Nwanieri. I think we messaged each other during the game and was talking specifically about Kozia Jubri. Like, what were your thoughts on his performance off the bench?
I think I messaged you saying, "Who is this mini Saka?" Because he
Yeah,
seems to play exactly like how Saka used to play when he was first trying to prove himself, and I say mini because he's a lot smaller, isn't he? He looks like what, like five foot
yeah,
six or something. He's really small, but he's
yeah,
rapid, absolutely rapid, and it was great to see that he didn't look like he just wanted to recycle the ball or wasn't being adventurous at all. He didn't play it safe either. He'd received the ball and his first thought was, "I'm going to beat this guy. I'm going to get to the byline and try and put a ball back or try and skill him and accelerate past him." And it's just it was amazing to see the enthusiasm of youth by him and Ethan Nwanieri when he came on as well, when they were both linking up together, and you could tell that they'd been playing
yeah,
together in the youth squads, and it's amazing that we've got these youngsters that could potentially be the next Sackers, the next Smith Rowes that are coming through the ranks that we don't even have to shell any money out for in the transfer market. So if there is a chance that we can somehow merge these players into the team over the next few months, if there's games that if the game state allows it, so to speak, then yeah, we should definitely try and integrate these players.
yeah. They really were linking up well on that left hand side, weren't they? And like you said, he was very direct and he was taking on his man, and for what I saw, he beat his man more times than not. Um, so yeah, really impressed by him. I'm not sure how old he is actually. It's the first time I've seen him play. 17. Wow.
17.
So yeah, another one to add to the list of talented youth prospects coming through Hale End. So another one to keep our eyes on. Okay. So another sort of aspect of the game was around some of the players that were missing, i.e., injuries racking up. I think we've got Zinchenko, Tomiyasu, Lukonga. We've obviously touched on Smith Rowe. Now Nelson's added to that list. Are you getting sort of a little bit worried about these injuries racking up, or do you think it's all just
Well, the list is certainly increasing, and that does increase my anxiety along with it. But the good thing is that the majority of our injuries we've got decent backups for. So, as you say, at left back we've got Zinchenko and Tomiyasu injured, and then we've got Tierney who can step up to the plate, which it shows that we've got great squad depth, especially in defence, that we didn't have last season. And then the other players that you mentioned, Nelson, he wasn't really a starter anyway. The main player that we're going to miss really is Gabriel Jesus. He's the main player that he would have started every single game, and he's now injured. But Yeah, apart from him, I'm not actually, I'm not going to panic stations just yet. But it does highlight to me that we need to make some moves in the January transfer window. What
Yeah,
about you?
yeah, I agree. I mean, Jesus is obviously the biggie. Zinchenko, I guess you could argue, is a starter, especially in Arteta's eyes. Um, I know we're big fans of Tierney, and I think he's done pretty well in these mid-season games. So we've got strength in depth there, so it's not so much of a concern. Although I guess coupled with Tomiyasu's injury, it doesn't leave us much, room for movement. If Tierney were to get an injury, obviously he's not the most reliable of players in terms of injury record. Um, but yeah, I'm pretty sure they're especially with Lukonga and Zinchenko. I think they're mainly just sort of little niggles, little muscular related injuries that aren't really too serious. They're more precautionary, and it's not really worth throwing them into these games when they've got these issues. It's better in the long run to give them time to recover. So nothing too concerning, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you there. Something that we didn't actually mention as well about that first half um, is Fabio Vieira, and he actually played out on the right wing instead of that Odegaard role that we're used to
Yeah,
seeing him in. Do you think he could be he could be out of the numbers as one of our wingers? Because from what I saw in the first half, he actually played pretty well. He was taking players on. He had nice little spins here and there. He actually had a pretty good effort on goal, which was saved. It was a really good save actually. It was a little volley which was beautifully made from a few little samba passes to and from over the top, and then he volleyed it, and the keeper saved it. But could you see him having a real role out on the wing, or do you see him as more of a
yeah,
10?
that goal would have been brilliant, wouldn't it? Like the little keepy up is like um, that would have been a beautiful goal. It was a good save in the end as well. To be fair, it's not as if Vieira's shot was poor. So yeah, but out on the right, yeah, he did have a good game. Yeah, I admit that, but I'm not sure it really works in many games. I just think he's too. It's hard to find the right word. I was going to say immobile, but he just doesn't seem to have that sort of burst of pace to be able to beat a man. And I think the way we play is heavily reliant, not heavily reliant, but reliant on Martinelli taking on his man, Saka taking on his man, and with Vieira out wide, it slows down the play massively. Um, he does link up. He did link up well with Odegaard, um, especially when he sort of drifted in centrally at times. But then that sort of goes against the whole playing out wide position. So it worked well in this game, but I'm not sure I would want to see it too often. Put it that way. What about you?
No, no, and well, yeah, I kind of agree with you there. I think he's too similar of a player
Yeah,
to Odegaard that we don't need two of those players on the pitch at the same time. We've already got Odegaard, and he really did make us tick in that first half. Odegaard, he was so good. But going back to Vieira, one of his main criticisms when he first came to Arsenal is his physicality. He looked too weak for the Premier League. He looks like he's beefed
yeah.
up a little bit, doesn't it? He's looks like they've actually been feeding him at London Colney. So it's good to see that they've definitely got the right coaches and the right
Mm.
nutritionists, should I say, to help him cope with the Prem. But yeah, so yeah, I don't think there is a real position for him out on the right. I think he will end up being a rotation player for Odegaard, and if he can do a job, if Saka's injured, then he can do a job. But if we get the likes of Gakpo or a Mudrik, they would definitely be in front of him in the line
Yeah,
for
don't
me.
get me wrong. Yeah, I think he can do a job there when push comes to shove, but it's not something that I would be, you know, jumping at to incorporate him into the team and get him on the right. For example, I mean, I wouldn't be doing that.
No, and something else with that's Bukayo Saka related. I was going to mention that we don't have to just be concerned about him getting injured on the right. Are you also concerned about his contract situation?
Um, yeah, I did see some little rumors circulating around City recently, which always puts the fear into you, especially having been scarred from how many players they took from us all those years ago. Um, but I think out of the three, Saka, Martinelli, Saliba, I think Saka has got to be the most likely to sign. So yeah, it is a concern because it's massive. It's huge. It's imperative that he signs. So it does concern me because he's certainly one of our best players and he's so young. We need to be building around him for the future. So it's imperative that he signs. I do think he will sign. I think now the World Cup's over, I think it's a matter of time. I think within the next, well, certainly before May, I think we'll know. I think he'll have signed that ting, as they say. What about you? Are you worried?
Well, yes,
Yeah.
of course I'm worried because I feel like he's a talismanic player. He's like the figurehead of this whole new generation of players in this whole trust the process. He is one of the main players of the process. So for him to be ripped out of that really does go against the whole principle of this thing that we're building, this team that we're trying to achieve. And yeah, I would be really upset, and I am worried that he might get tempted by City, but I don't think it's as appealing of a club to play for, really. Man City, I'm not just having a dig at the fan base because obviously they've got no fans, but I'm more concerned about the fact that if I was Bukayo Saka, he's not going to be guaranteed to start there every week. They always rotate the players. He's going to a club where he's not really got any history there. Whereas when he's at Arsenal, he's an Arsenal lad. He's come through the ranks. Everybody there loves him. He knows he's going to start every single week if he's fit. And Arsenal as a team, at the moment, they're meeting his
Mm.
expectations as a player. I would understand it if, for example, we were still lumbering about in eighth place and looking like we're going to finish outside the Champions League spots again. A player like Bukayo Saka needs to be playing in the best competitions that he could possibly play in. I would say fair enough. Go and play for. Well, I wouldn't want to, but I'd say if he needs to, like Jack Grealish, for example, he wanted to play in the biggest competitions, so he had to leave Aston Villa, his boyhood club. You can understand that. However, Arsenal are moving in the right direction. We're currently top of the league, in case you didn't know. Uh,
Right.
just nice to say over and over again, isn't it? And yeah, there's no reason why he should leave. And his new contract, should he get one, it should reflect his importance in the squad.
Yeah. Yeah, because hypothetically, say he signs a 5-year deal right now. In 5 years' time, he's going to be 26. In his prime. So even if he signed, he's still got the ability and chance to go to a big club. Say if we don't, get into the Champions League consistently over the next 5 years, don't meet his ambitions, then fair enough. But I think it's too early in his career for him to just move now. I think it could, like you said, hamper his development as well because he's not going to be playing every single game. Um, just look at Grealish. His stock's fallen dramatically, hasn't it? You would have said he was not a nailed-on starter for England, but certainly one of the first. Everyone was dying to get Grealish in the team. This tournament, not so much. I don't think there's many. I don't think there was many fans sort of as desperate to see him play because he's just not had those consistent games in the Premier League. And even yeah, so even players like Sancho um, aren't playing for Man United now. He got his big move and can't even get in the team. He's no longer in the England team. So I think he's happy. So why change? Why change?
Yeah, and I really do hope that he will stay. uh, so I actually saw something on Twitter. I don't know how true it is because it came from Italian media, but the team that we played against the other day,
Yeah.
Juventus, supposedly would like a swap deal for Gabriel, the defender, the defensive Gabriel, for Dusan Vlahovic. Now, I was really big on wanting Vlahovic last January because at the time we had Aubameyang who'd just left and Lacazette was our only real first team striker. Eddie Nketiah still wasn't really in the frame too much by that point. So we had Alex Lacazette, sorry, and I was thinking, yeah, I would really want to have someone like Dusan Vlahovic in the team because he was doing so well for Fiorentina at that point. But having got Jesus, I don't think a player like Vlahovic would actually fit into our team. He doesn't really fit the Arteta style, and I really like Gabriel. And please don't take him away from us.
Yeah, the first rule is never believe transfer rumors that come out of Italy. But still, hypothetically, if that were an option, no chance. Yeah, I would not be. I'd not be taking that. For starters, like I'm the same. I love Gabriel. I think he's quality centre back. Left-footed as well, which Arteta absolutely requires in his centre backs. He needs the left sided to be left footed and the right sided to be right footed. So, and there's not that many, you know, known or high performing left footed centre backs. So, the fact that we got one of the best, we should probably keep a hold of him. But I think the Vlahovic ship has sailed, in my opinion. I think it was certainly an option back when we bid for him. But I think I'm with you on the fact that Jesus is has transformed our team, and why would we want to disrupt that? And like as I was mentioning earlier, I'm happy with Eddie as second choice. I don't see any room for Vlahovic anymore.
No. Well, it's funny that you should say that there's not too many high performing left centre backs that are left footed. We've actually also been linked. So this is why I was putting the puzzle together. We've been linked with Indika, who's a left centre back slash left back. Now, I hope this isn't true because I really like Gabriel. But if we were to get Indika, then that would free up that space on the left centre back for him to maybe get swapped with Vlahovic. So that's what I'm hoping doesn't happen. but but saying that, I would like Indika in the team as maybe a rotational player.
Yeah, especially when you think that Pablo Mari, who's on loan at Monza at the minute, has got an obligation. Monza have got an obligation to then purchase Marie should they stay up. And if you look at their league position at the minute, they're doing pretty good. So I don't think they're going to be in that relegation zone towards the end. So that effectively means that Pablo Marie will no longer be an Arsenal player. So he is our other left-footed centre back. So he could effectively replace Marie's position in the squad. I know what you're thinking. Well, he's out on loan, so he's not really in the squad. But Arteta does like that. He does like two left-footed centre backs, two right-footed centre backs. So I guess that would, in my opinion, lean more towards a potential Rob Holding exit more than anything. I think this, in my opinion, could be his final season in an Arsenal shirt. I think we could be looking to replace him as a more left-sided centre back.
Yeah, and if Rob Holding does go, I will be sad to see him go because he is one of those Mr. Arsenal players where he loves the club and he'll give everything for the badge, but he's just not quite up to the quality of the top four, really, is he? I think he'd do well at maybe like a Crystal Palace or just like a Everton or a mid-table team I think he would play really well and he'd be able to be a starter, but he's always got a mistake in his locker, and sometimes he does lose his cool, like when he got that red card against Tottenham against Son when he elbowed him last season. So he's not really got much. I think it would be good for his career if he takes a sidestep or a bit of a step down to a lesser club to get more game time. And yeah, I would be sad to see him go, but he
I suppose the caveat to all that is the fact that Ben White's now out on the right. Uh, so is Ben White is he a permanent right back now in in Arsenal's eyes, or is he still that the right centre back? Is it Saliba and Ben White, or is it it's hard to really know the thought process
yeah
behind that. So that maybe could leave the space open for
yeah
Rob.
because it does make you
Um,
wonder.
I think he's done okay this season. Yeah, I mean, I don't think. Yeah, he does have mistakes in him. He seems to be that sort of like just not as sharp as everybody else. He just seems like one pace behind everybody else. It's a difficult one. But I don't think he's put in any clangers, since that Tottenham game.
No, I think what we can say about Rob Holding is he's effectively like the El Neni of centre back. He's going to give you like a 6 or a 7 out of 10 most weeks, but he's not going to do anything too progressive. He does like to pass the ball side to side. So if you have a combo of El Neni and Rob Holding, you're never going to leave your half, are you, really? But you're not going to concede either. So if you want to shore up.
He's good in the air as
Yeah,
well.
to be fair, that is
Yeah.
one of his real strengths of having a player that you can bring on who you know is going to defend the box within the edge of his life. He is great in the air.
When you're clinging on for a 1-0 win or whatever, and the team is swinging in crosses left, right, and centre, like, and you can bring Rob on and know that he's going to get on the end of most of them. It's a nice little thing to have on your bench, I guess. But whether that warrants a space in the Arsenal squad, I don't know.
I did have a bit of a fun question here, and it was who has been the best signing for you personally during the Emirates era?
Um, Santi Cazorla, only because he absolutely transformed our team in terms of uh, we was reliant on Sanchez and Özil heavily, and then we brought in Cazorla, and our midfield just absolutely changed. There's so much more control, and he was just like a little magician, wasn't he? He's probably one of my favourite Emirates era players. What about you?
Yeah, I think Cazorla came before Özil and Sanchez, didn't he? I'm pretty sure he came before them when it was.
Yeah.
I think him, Giroud, Podolski, and there was one other player that came in. But because I remember when Özil came in his first season, he won the FA Cup, and
Yeah.
yeah, and Cazorla was already in the team then. I'm pretty sure because he scored the free kick, which against Hull, wasn't it?
Yeah, that one was 2-0 behind.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyway, they combined very well. Put it that way. I remember us being heavily reliant um, on Sanchez, for example, and I feel like they just sort of unlocked each other. They sort of seem to be that little trio rather than um, heavily reliant on
yeah.
one or two
But,
people.
well, I went for Alexis Sanchez as my favourite Emirates signing, and Özil was a close second, just because when Özil first came to the club, we'd had that trophy drought, and the the quality of him coming in. He came from Real Madrid, and he played with Ronaldo and played with all these great players. And then he comes to our club, Little Arsenal, and and we're back to winning a trophy again straight away. And I was thinking, oh God, okay, we're starting to come back into back with the big boys, so to speak. So I feel like he really elevated our club. However, I went for Alexis Sanchez because every single time you watched him play, he looked a threat. You knew that he could just pull a goal completely out of his bottom at any point. You'd see him on the left wing. It's kind of like how Martinelli's starting to play now. He'd get the ball and you know that he would drive in and put it top bins, or drive in and then go near post. You knew that there was always a chance that we'd score if we had Alexis on the left and he got the ball. So he's probably been the most exciting player for me to watch during the Emirates era.
That's fair. Yeah, he was. He definitely was a game changer, wasn't he? I think he's probably our best player of the Emirates era in terms of talent. Maybe Van Persie actually.
Yeah,
Annoyingly, both players went to Man United.
and well,
Um, but
Van Persie won them the league, really, didn't he, when he went across? But Sanchez didn't really do anything at all
yeah,
when he went to United.
Rambles really, wasn't it? The whole Mkhitaryan swap deal. It was
That was
ludicrous.
awful transfer for us as well. It was awful
That's
on both
nice.
sides, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just an absolute shambles, wasn't it? I think he was trying to get his move to City, wasn't he, Sanchez? Then that sort of backfired last minute, so he had to go to United. Um, and I think I heard reports that within like a week of being there, he was asking if he could come back to Arsenal. He hated it that much, and you could tell with his performances. So
Yeah.
we've got Arsenal v West Ham on Boxing Day. Um, so not long to go for that one. I think it's just over a week. Um, Saka and Martinelli, do you think they'll go straight back into the team?
I don't know, to be honest. They've had a couple of weeks off and they've not joined up with the team in Dubai. So there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to come back and play. I feel like both of them will definitely want to because that's the sort of players they are. They're young, hungry players and they want to play as much as they can. Um,
Yeah.
Neither of them are injured. I feel like they both have a bit of a point to prove after early exits from the World Cup. So yeah, I don't see why
Yeah,
they
I
won't
saw
play.
some reports saying that Martinelli's back in training with the team, and he's looks like he's full of energy still. I think he's raring to go. I think one of the first players to leave the Brazil camp. He was eager to get back and kick on with Arsenal now. Saka, I think he's still on his holidays, so um, he's gonna have less time to get up to speed. But um, as we mentioned earlier, we're not sort of blessed on that right hand side with players at the minute. So I think that position sort of is Saka's no matter what, if as long as he's fit. So yeah, I think they'll both play. But
Yeah, I was gonna
yeah,
say
looking forward to it.
if um, if they didn't play, then who would we have instead? Probably no one. So I think if they're back, then they have to play, don't they? It's not a case of if we should or shouldn't play them. We kind of have to if we've
Yeah,
got them. So
yeah, I think yeah, like you said, we've got to play them, and we've got options from the bench if we have to change for whatever reason. But I think Saka will have to start. So will Martinelli. But yeah, I really am looking forward to it. I'm super glad that the Premier League is back. Um, so yeah, I think we're getting to the sort of hour mark now. I think that's probably a good time to end. Have you got anything else to add?
no, all I want to say is I want to wish all of the listeners a happy Christmas and hope you get everything and see all of your family and whatever you like to do on Christmas Day. Fill your boots with a lot of turkey and stuffing, and then enjoy the
Have
Arsenal
a good
on
one, guys.
Boxing
Take
Day.
care. Bye.